Welcome. Hcalory asked me to do a video review of their diesel air car parking heater. This is the diesel tank. You've got a little bag in there with some goodies. You've got the fuel outlet adapter there. You've got some rubber O-rings. Do not lose that stuff. And you also got some screws for mounting the fuel tank to the sidewall or whatever you want to mount the fuel tank. That is the mounting plate which goes on the bottom of the heater unit. We have the remote control, and we also have a display adapter controller that plugs into the main unit. Now you've got another way of controlling this thing here. You can use the app on your celly. So we have both Apple and Android flavors available. Just go to the correct app store, type in Hcalory, and you're going to be using an app to control it. All right, so on the left side of the unit is the heater, the exhaust for it. On the right side is the fresh air intake, and it also has the fuel barb on it. We're going to get into more detail on that, all right? So let's take a look at it. Here is the vent hose that vents out the heated air. You've got an adapter where you can split it. You can get more than one air output. You've got a grill so you can adjust the air. You have the owner's manual. Now this is the heated part here. That is the exhaust, and the muffler, that is the air intake. With the air filter, you got a bag full of goodies with clamps and screws and all sorts of stuff. Here is the fuel pump. Manual calls it the oil pump, okay? Here is the wiring loom that we're going to use to wire everything together. It's not that complicated. Got it laid out for you. Now let's take a look at it here. This is the biggest block here. The end of it here, it's more of a squarish looking block. That is going to plug directly into the main unit itself here. That red and blue box there, the main heater unit, that plugs right in there. It can only go one way, and you're not going to get any of this stuff here confused, I promise, all right? So next up, we've got the black connector there. It has this wire spring on it that you have to press down in order to make the connection there. That goes to the fuel pump, okay? It goes to the bottom of the fuel pump. That will be the output side of the fuel pump. Fuel pump sucks in fuel, and it pushes it out the outlet. You don't want to get it reversed. We're going to get into more detail on that, all right? Just remember the connector goes on the outlet side of it. And then we have the triangular connector, which goes to the display / controller that you can mount anywhere you want as long as the wires reach it, right? See, there you go. You can turn it on and off, adjust the temperature settings, and see what's going on with your heater, okay? Now, the other two wires, you got the red wire and the black wire. You have a fuse block on the red wire. The red wire is the positive. You have a 20 amp fuse in that holder there, and it's marked. The black one goes for your negative. Now I'm going to cut these off here, strip them, and I'm going to use these Wago connectors to connect mine up to it. Now you want it to an uninterrupted power source there, because you don't want to shut the power down while the heater is running. We'll get in more detail on that there. I'll leave links down below for the Wago connectors. All right, I'm using the angle grinder to grind off a little bit of the seam. There are two reinforced hex areas on the fuel tank where you can mount your outlet barbs there. Let's go ahead and drill a hole. You got to drill the hole. 1/8 inch pilot hole made it easier, and I got my 5/16 inch bit to drill the hole where I'm going to mount my outlet barb. Now we're going to use some high-tech tools to install the fuel outlet barb there, some baling wire. All right, so I got the outlet barb, put the O-ring on it. This is going to be mounting on the inside and sealing on the inside of it, okay? So what I did is I took the baling wire and I eyeballed it to where it'll go in the inlet where you pour the fuel in, and then go to the fuel tap. Now what I'm doing here, I've got the O-ring on the outlet barb. I'm fishing my baling wire onto it, and I'm going to get my fat fingers out of the way, and I used a piece of tape to hold it in place. Now look by my thumb and my finger there. I bent the baling wire so the little outlet adapter will not go up, and then the tape on it so it won't fall off while I'm trying to fish it into the hole. Now you can look in the inlet and you can clearly see the hole down there at the bottom, and my first try I got it right through the hole there. That was a success. I cheered. Now we got to get the little blue piece of blue tape off, pull it out, and then we're going to need to fish on the second rubber O-ring, and you want to do that without pushing the barb in, so you be a little bit careful there. Just take your time, otherwise you're going to have to start the process all over again. But hey, it's fun, right? So the second O-ring is for the outer seal, and then that bag of goodies that was inside the fuel tank had a nut that mates up with the the outlet adapter. So you got the O-ring on the outside. Okay, so fish out your 12mm wrench and we're going to snug up that nut on the fuel barb outlet there. Don't get it super tight. All right, so let's put the mounting plate on the bottom of the unit. The right-hand side, you got the little red rubber cap on the fuel inlet. That is the fresh air intake side. That's where the black hose is going to go. The left-hand side is the exhaust. That's going to be the hot one. You don't want to touch that one in operation. Black hose on the right-hand side by the red barb, right? And the steel high temp one is going to go on the left-hand side here. That is the exhaust. Now, I flipped it around on you just to keep things interesting, all right? So you have the black fresh air intake mounted onto it. You can put a clamp on it here. Mounting the fuel hose to the fuel inlet. You've got a whole bunch of clamps there in the bag of goodies that comes with it. And of course your high temp exhaust is going to go on the outlet on the right hand side. You're going to put both of them outside into the elements, okay? Now one thing I didn't tell you about here is the little rubber block that comes, it slips over the fuel pump, and I'm using that to mount the fuel pump to the 2x4 in my shed here. Now it's at an angle right now. Now I'm going to turn it at a little bit more of an angle. You want it at about a 45-degree angle. Now remember, the bottom where the wire connects here, that is the outlet. The top of it is the inlet. And we're going to connect the fuel line to the fuel tank there, and that's going to feed into the top of it where the wires do not go on your fuel pump, right? So we got a short length of tubing. Now make note of the orientation of the fuel filter. The top cap area is the outlet side. The smaller area is where the fuel goes into, and why it makes it easier for you to see if you get any contaminants in your fuel filter there. It'll make sense. Okay, so next thing we need to do is hook it up to a power supply. Now I have a 110 volt power supply. You can use a battery in your vehicle, camper, whatever. I'll leave a link down below for those of you who want to use 110 volt to a 12 volt power supply. Very versatile there. Got the link down below, like I said, and you can hook it up. I used the Wago connectors on it too because I had some other wires hooked up to it and I was too lazy to tear into the unit. All right, so when you first turn the unit on, it's not going to work right off the bat because we have a whole bunch of air in the fuel lines. So it's going to have to prime the pump. So you're going to turn it on, and the fan's going to run for a little bit very low, and then you're going to hear the fuel pump come in, and you're going to start seeing some fuel go through the fuel line. And you're going to see some air bubbles. I'm pointing out the air bubbles there. So our job is to let this thing go through. Now, eventually the heater unit is going to shut off with an error code because it's not getting fuel into the combustion chamber quick enough. So I just went ahead and disconnected the power. It took me 3 tries of it, pumping, getting the error code. So basically what I had to do, like I said, is prime the fuel lines, get all the bubbles out. You can see the bubbles going through there. And there was a lot of it where it was just mostly air, okay? So once you start getting fuel into the combustion chamber, okay, you're going to hear a little bit of a different noise from the heater. It's going to start to run a little bit faster, and you might even hear a flame noise, okay? So as it starts to catch fire, quote unquote, on the inside, the exhaust, don't go grabbing it real hard, will get a little bit warm, and you'll even start to smell some diesel fumes coming out of the exhaust, and then you can feel some hot air coming out of the discharge vent. One important feature of the Hcalory heaters is they work very well in higher altitudes. Some of the other diesel heaters don't work so well. These are rated up to 10,000 feet of elevation, so that's a bonus for those of you who live in the high altitudes. Let me demonstrate to you how the heater works once we've got it primed and it's in normal operation. You're going to turn it on using your control pad, remote, or phone app. I can hear the fan running now. It's going to go through some diagnostics, and once it senses everything is okay, you're going to hear your fuel pump start pumping, and that will pump for a little bit, and then the flame will come on. And once it gets hotter in there, it knows that everything is functioning correctly. The fans will turn up. Now using the remote, you've got the plus and the minus. That will control the heat. Now it's in Celsius, so you do the conversion. You can hear the fuel pump. starting to cycle. Okay, and it'll take about 3 minutes or so for everything to get going, where it's going to be kicking out maximum heat. I got about 170 degrees or above Fahrenheit air discharge from this here, so it does a pretty good job of heating. Now I'm going to be cranking up the volume here so you can hear the sounds as the machine starts to get going. It's not quite this loud when it's running, but this is just an example of it. Okay, I give the Hcalory heater 2 thumbs up. It's versatile. The heater unit itself is very compact for the amount of heat that it puts out. I think you'll find it a useful tool in a car, in a truck, a camper, RV, heating application. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, click subscribe. There's more videos to come. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching.